Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 19th of September. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the broad themes to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. Now, this week could be described a bit like a sports match, a game of two halves, or a week of two halves. The first half of this week has a very strong resemblance to the energies which played out last week. That angle between the Sun and Pluto, very much a transformative aspect, that reaches a peak on Monday and lasts through to midweek. Venus and Mars are still in a right angle, and that lasts through to midweek. And that's bringing a greater sense of tension, but also potential excitement into the romantic realm. And also because Uranus is angling with Venus this week too, there is an opportunity to liven things up a little bit around all sorts of relationships by being a bit more spontaneous and not just going through the same routines and patterns that we can all tend to settle down into. Now also, those two retreating planets of Mercury and Jupiter are in opposition through to the middle of this week, which can see some bubbly conversations. It can also see some intense disagreements. You know, Jupiter is the planet that governs the sign of Sagittarius, which is very much about knowledge, but in the sign of Aries it can be more direct. Now the more moderate energies of Mercury in Libra is asking us all to find a balance, but of course the retrograde can see some cross wires. But later in this week we have one of the biggest events of the whole year. On Friday we have the Cardinal Quadrant 3 as the Sun moves into the sign of Venus, and we have the autumnal equinox. This provides a backdrop for the next 13 weeks, but particularly for the following 4 weeks, relationships are going to be a big part of everyone's thinking. And on this particular event, the Sun and Mercury are absolutely conjunct, or cazimi. So I think important to really take the whole concept of relating seriously. And that doesn't, of course, mean just saying what we want or how we feel. It means being able to listen to other people, but crucially comprehend where they're coming from if they tend to have a different approach to ourselves. And then on Sunday, we have a new moon in the sign of Libra, which just brings even greater dynamism into our need to relate well. But this one's in an opposition with Jupiter. Interesting, Jupiter's still in that retrograde, and I think that this means that there can, if we're open to it, be some really positive exchanges. We see lots of people giving their opinions these days, but it's very important to also have conversations and discussions. And I think as this week goes on, despite any tensions that may be there, and of course Saturn and Uranus are still inching closer to their exact square, which within 1 minute occurs between the 2nd and 12th of October, a repeat of an energy that was so prevalent in 2021 and at the start of this year. There is a lot of tension around. So if we can find a way to embrace this Libran energy of trying to find points of agreement, or to celebrate the things that we share rather than highlighting all the time the things that are different between us, I think it does provide an enormous opportunity over the next few weeks. So Sagittarius, as you make your way into this new week commencing the 19th, the Sun's still high in the sky, and this is encouraging your ambitions, goals and aims. If you really want to punch through and be more successful, particularly with finances, Monday is a critical day in the whole year, to be honest, because it's linking superbly with Pluto in your sector of transformation. I think since 2008 probably hasn't always been easy when it comes to money and your sense of self and the foundations in your world. It's taken a lot of battling away. But I think if you've really dedicated yourself to the journey, if you like, I think you can start to see things shaping up in a very substantive way, which is enormously pleasing. Now, Venus is also in this 10th house position, giving you the opportunity to communicate with those in positions of influence in a very important way, because Venus can be very gracious, but in its link with Uranus this week, your ability to think outside the box, but also understand what people need, but articulate it to them, that can definitely also win you brownie points. What might be a little bit more challenging is that Mars in your sector of relating is clashing with Venus. This is a high intensity link which can create more desire, particularly romantically. The 7th house can be about where we relate. The 10th house is more about who's in charge. So in an ongoing relationship, there could be a bit of a tussle, a bit of a push or pull around who is influencing things the most, but equally that could spark some intimacy in a way. And if you're single, don't be completely surprised if someone starts to really creep up on your cosmic radar through your work. That would be very possible with this set of influences early in the week. Also, Jupiter is in the glorious 5th house, which is wonderful for you to express yourself. Yes, it's retrograde, but it's in an opposition with Jupiter, and there could be some invitations or surprise connections to other people that really delights you. However, as we move to Friday, we have that 3rd cardinal quadrant, the autumnal equinox, and the Sun glides into the sign of Libra, which for us all is very much about relating. But Mercury is exactly conjunct this event in its retrograde, so a cazimi in traditional astrology. And this really can be very electrifying and wonderful over the next 13 weeks. Your desire to network with people and build up alliances can really increase. Also, the new moon on Sunday is in the same location, but that's in opposition to your ruler Jupiter. So I think you're entering into a much more sociable and interactive phase of the year, and that can bring a lot of joy to you. And yes, there's still that rather stressful right angle between Saturn and Uranus, which has been going on for so long now to one degree or another, and it's building up to a point of intensity from the 2nd to the 12th of October. And that's just suggesting there's only so many hours in the day, only so many minutes in each hour, and you need to prioritize and pace yourself. But generally, your chart looks really quite encouraging this week.